Are you familiar with the effects that paint has on the environment when disposed of incorrectly? Paints often contain toxins, and if they are introduced to the environment through improper disposal, there may be detrimental effects on the surrounding ecosystem. This is why our team of Wayne State University students are investigating whether the current regulations that Sherwin-Williams has in place is enough or more needs to be done. Educating customers about paint disposal, perhaps with a note card with each purchase, or informing them to purchase and use only what they need, can be a potential first step if needed. The structure of this presentation, first will be the introduction, followed by team members' contributions, and then wrapped up with the conclusion. The team members include Kelvin, who will, for his report, will be interview Sherwin-Williams management and employees. Spencer, who will read research papers and speak with officials. Jasmine, who spoke with Wayne State University faculty of Environmental Science Department and the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and those findings. JD, who interviewed Sherwin-Williams management and compare and contrast the interview findings. And then finally, Dakota, who read various research papers and sent emails to officials. The purpose of this presentation is to report on our current research progress, as well as what we have done and what we plan on doing. Next, I will hand it off to Kelvin for his report.
Thanks, JD. Over the last few weeks, I've been hard at work interviewing Sherwin-Williams employees. I have asked them questions such as how often do customers ask how to dispose of paint? I have also asked him what kind of demographics of the customer base ask the most. Is it the contractors or is it the homeowners? And I have also asked him to ask them how to explain to me as if I was a customer how to dispose of paint. I have also created a multitude of informational graphics, some of which have been previously used on projects and others which will be used on future projects. In addition to conducting interviews and creating graphics, I have been reviewing some scientific research papers related to disposal and recycling of paint. By the upcoming projects, I plan on creating a few more informational graphics, as well as conducting interviews with 2 more Sherwin-Williams employees. This timeline is one of the informational graphics I have created. It outlines our deadlines set up by our team. We have already had 5 official team meetings, as well as conducted interviews with Sherwin-Williams employees and local government officials. We have also found multiple research papers for use for secondary research. Next up is Spencer. He will be discussing some primary and secondary research he has conducted.
Thanks, Kelvin. For my research so far, I have browsed the Sherwin-Williams website. I have pretty much looked through all the tabs that are related to this topic, and there wasn't a whole bunch of information based on what the company is currently doing with the paint that they are taking or referring people to what to do with this paint. I have read a few research papers. These papers are giving me more of a scientific view of the problem at hand of recycling paint. I have actually gone into a Sherwin-Williams store to collect a brochure, and once again, it was similar to their website, and it didn't have a bunch of information on what you should do with your paint that is not there that you're looking to have recycled. Some information I still have to do, or tasks I have to do, are gathering my information. I have a bunch of information from these articles and picking and choosing what is best for our paper and future video is what I need to do for that. I need to still speak with officials on what they think is best for the environment or best to do with these paints, on whether you should dry it or just send it into a government agency. And I need to do a little bit of reduction on the amount of materials that I have set up for the following paper. Next up is Jasmine with her report.
Thanks, Spencer. I began my research for a primary source by emailing the director of Wayne State University Environmental Sciences Department, Donna Kashan, and asked her if she would be willing to share her perspective on the environmental damage caused by improper paint disposal, as well as any personal encounters that she has had with the issue. I chose Professor Kashan not only because she is the director of the Environmental Sciences Department, but because her research focuses on environmental health hazards and developing a better understanding of contaminants in the environment. Unfortunately, Professor Kashan informed me that her research is specific to the improper disposal of car oil and medications, and that paint oil is beyond her area of expertise. I asked her if she could refer me to a professor in the department that may be more familiar with paint disposal issues, so I look forward to her reply and plan to conduct further research via email interview. I am reaching out to members of Wayne's Environmental Science Department because I believe that they are a fitting primary source on the issue as they have expertise in the broader field. As a secondary source of information, I began an internet search in order to gather sources for a literature review. I came across a guide for homeowners to reduce home waste from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, otherwise known as the DEQ, in which they outline the overall issues, air and health issues, how to reduce leftover paint, instances in which you can reuse leftover paint, and how to properly dispose of paint when that is a last resort option. The guide also offers federal, state, and miscellaneous resources on paint pollution prevention. It also cites that the EPA states that leftover paint is the largest volume item collected by community household hazardous waste collection programs and represents a high cost for local governments. Yet, leftover paint offers significant potential for reuse and recycling. I believe that this article is extremely relevant to the issue at hand because it is Michigan focused, as well as focused not only on disposal, but recycling and eliminating waste as much as possible. My research process has been going as well as I expected. There have been ups, such as the discovery of the DEQ guide, as well as some downs, including the Wayne State Environmental Sciences Director not being able to provide her perspective on the issue. So far, I have found a source that includes not only a wealth of applicable information, but links to additional resources as well. I am also on the path to speaking with a primary source who has some expertise on the issue of improper paint disposal. In the next reporting period, I expect to have analyzed and consolidated my findings from the DEQ document, as well as have conducted an email interview with a Wayne State faculty member and generated a report of my findings and how they apply to our project. Next, JD will be discussing his research findings.
Thank you, Jasmine. I have read through research articles and papers and spoken with a Sherwin-Williams manager, but I still need to condense that research down into things that we can use for our report, as well as compare and contrast the overall interview findings that we have found throughout from our team, from interviewing the Sherwin-Williams management, to see if the Sherwin-Williams as a whole is on the same page as far as paint recycling and informing their customers if they do that, or if it's more on if it changes from store to store. Next, Dakota will wrap up our report with his findings and as well as the conclusion.
Thank you. So far, I have primarily focused on the scientific and academic research behind the specific environmental impacts that improper paint disposal can have, the different types of paints, and what their specific impacts are as well. I've drafted emails to several of the academics behind these research papers and reports. I've yet to hear back from any of them, but I'm still very hopeful to have a back and forth conversation, question and answer between them. I've also focused on condensing the academic research into a more manageable and easier to understand format. Most of the research requires a very thorough understanding of organic chemistry and environmental science, which I cannot expect everyone to have. So I'm trying my best to make it as easy to understand for everyone as possible, while still maintaining a professional and academic format. The things that I have left to do are to complete my report findings in the required format finish the graphics based on the academic reports that I need to finish, and finalize the email chains between the researchers that have yet to answer. Here's a sample of the research that I've found so far, a graphic comparing the different types of hazardous waste at home and where they end up by percent. The second bar, as you can see, highlights our specific topic, paints and solvents. In conclusion, I would like you to take away from this presentation what the purpose was, what our team members have done, what they still have left to do, what each of their contributions are, and what the plan going forward is, the specific timeline that we have laid out. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of us at any time, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for listening, and stay safe.